the SnoWest Show from our mountain snowmobiling headquarters in Idaho for over 45 years. Here's your host, Ryan Harris.
It's just a pain in the butt. So, all right, welcome everybody to the SnoWest Show. This is something totally new for us. We've been talking about doing a podcast for how long, Levon?
Years and years.
A long time. I'm Ryan Harris with SnoWest. I've got Levon on here. He's helping out today. We got a lot to talk about today. We were at Heidi's not too long ago. Shot a great show with the people that run Arctic Cat. We'll get into that, but before we get into that, I gotta say thank you to the crew at Fly Racing for sponsoring this episode of the show. This is our first episode of the SnoWest podcast. So it's cool to have Fly Racing on board sponsoring that. Their 2023 snow gear line is out. They're making huge leaps forward with style and performance, especially in the mountain gear. They have a huge line of snow gear. It's crazy. But Fly Racing dominates like Supercross and motocross. Like they're one of the biggest brands out there, and it's this Idaho-based company. And it's just, for me, it's cool to see because I remember Fly Racing when Fly Racing launched way back when. You know, Western Power Sports has been around since before I was in the industry. And Fly Racing is one of the brands that Western Power launched. And just to see that thing grow, it's crazy what they've done. But it's cool to see how that motocross and supercross design and quality and influence is coming into the snow line. They have 6 gear lines, including what's my favorite, like the Cobalt Monosuit. I love that mono. It just fits good. It's a lightweight shell. What I wore last year, and then I wore a prototype the year before. It's just a lightweight, breathable shell. But they have it in 3 different versions. They have an insulated version, which I've never worn because we don't wear insulated stuff out here. You know how that goes. Like you just would kill yourself with heat. For the kind of riding we do, you know, there's an application for insulated stuff for sure. And then they have a snow bike version, which just has that leather Kevlar looking stuff on the inside of the leg that doesn't melt. So if it rubs up against your snow bike pipe and your engine, nothing melts. So 3 versions of the Cobalt Monosuit. I love it. I love that Cobalt. Just it's not too baggy. It's not too tight. Torso length is good. Arm length is good. Leg length is good. It's got all the great features. Fly Racing has a huge product range with base layers, inversion boots, Formula helmet, Zone Pro goggles, and like a million gloves. Like a lot of gloves. And so many heated gloves too. Like if you're playing hockey, do your hands get cold?
Never.
Okay, then you can't relate. Because there's days like this past February when we were doing snowshoot. I think I told you this. We were headed over to snowshoot from the cabin, and it was like 33 below, and the high of the day was like 12 below.
Oh.
And we spent the whole day out there, and you take off at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, and it's 30 below, and the wind chill. You start moving at 50 miles an hour on a snowmobile. And then you got the wind chill factor. So I've been wearing heated gloves on days like that. Huge difference. So they have heated gloves. Fly Racing has heated gloves. Everything you need. FlyRacing.com has everything you need for snow gear, and at Fly Racing Snow on social media. Okay, so we were just at Heidi's. We've been going to Heidi's for 20 some odd years. I remember going to Heidi's when we did Snow Action magazine. You remember that one?
Yes.
It was the race. It was like a newspaper.
Yes.
And then we took that to like a glossy magazine. I remember going to Heidi's way back when we did Snow Action as a newspaper just to cover the drag races. Like not even really go to the show, just cover the drag races. And that was when it was in the old location. And man, the drag strip, it was way smaller. It was still a huge show, but it was way smaller. And the drag strip was like super rough. And I remember a dude wadding it up. And so back then this would be mid 90s, and drag sleds now. I think the world record or some record was broken this last weekend at Heidi's, and it was insanely fast, like 164 miles an hour, something like that. in a quarter mile. And when I went there in the 90s and I was covering it just on the racing, like dudes were hitting probably like 98 miles an hour, maybe 105, something like, I don't know. Don't quote me on that exactly. But this dude wads it up because the course gets so rough over the end of the day. You get all these braking bumps and you get clumps of grass and dirt where, I don't know. So this dude is like doing 100 miles an hour, wads it up, cartwheels his sled end over end. He's cartwheeling end over end, wads up into the hay bales at the end of the course, stop the drags, bring in the ambulance, like total carnage. But anyway, we go out to Haydays a couple weeks ago, and Arctic Cat revealed their new snowmobile, their new platform, Catalyst platform. And so they revealed that at 2:00 on Saturday, and Friday at 5:00, they brought all the media in. They had this little building enclosure in their booth, that they had walled off on the front with a gate. So they brought all the media in there, had all the sleds covered, had a stripped down like chassis and an engine on a platform and lots of cool stuff. And, they pulled the covers off the new snowmobiles and gave us the full rundown, everything, the full history of development. They've been working on this thing for a long time, years. There's probably, I'm guessing here, I'm speculating here, there's probably been some hiccups just in the whole Textron transition and things being up in the air and COVID and supply chain problems and all that. But so they reveal this platform, tell us all about it, show us all the cool stuff. And then they give us a spec sheet that's like, this is what you can talk about. This is all we're releasing to the public. It's all you can say. So we do the Instagram live the next day on the reveal. We show all our cool stuff. And anyway, we had a chance to go talk to Heidi McNary and Troy Halvorson. And Heidi's like the senior vice president and general manager of Arctic Cat and the UTV stuff and tracker off-road and all that. So we get them on the podcast, and that's our first episode, and that's what's coming up. They talked about kind of the history behind the Catalyst and more of that story that they told us on Friday that then they said, we can't really talk about this, that I can't really talk about it. But they were able to talk about it a little bit, which is great. So that's the first episode. That's what we're going to jump into right now. So we'll let them take it over. But I want to thank everybody for listening. This is our first podcast. This is something new for us. We still do the magazine. We will always do the magazine as long as there are people that subscribe and want the magazine. And we've got a lot of people, so we will keep doing the magazine. We hit our 50th year of publishing SnoWest magazine next year. 50 years. Like, that's crazy to me. I haven't been around the whole 50 years, but it's just been fun to see that progression and to try to keep it new and keep it fresh. And that's kind of so that's your job, right? Is the design. Like, you've designed the majority of those issues, maybe not the majority, but more than any other artist.
Yeah, probably. This is my 21st year doing SnoWest, so a bunch.
Yeah. And it's, right now we do 7 issues a year. We used to do 8 issues a year. Plus we used to do Sledheads magazine. Plus we used to do Western Guide. Plus we used to do 2 issues of Mod Stock.
In SnoWest Canada.
And SnoWest Canada. Holy cow, I forgot about all those. So, but yeah, get the magazine. Go to snowwest.com and subscribe. If you subscribe this fall, we'll send you a free calendar. In fact, I got a copy of it right here. You'll get this free 2022-2023 calendar in the mail if you subscribe to SnoWest magazine. We'll throw in some stickers too. Got lots of stickers. So, and then go to snowwest.com and check out our merchandise. We have shirts and hats, and we made this cool little air freshener that you drew up from a picture. I didn't tell you this. So at Haydays, that picture, is of a picture of Maverick Walker.
Yeah.
And it's just an iconic picture. And I figured that he would look at it, even though it's like a cartoon drawing version of it. I think he would look at it and be like, yeah, that's me. Because you could just tell by the way he's holding the bar, he's in the air and he's kind of drifting sideways, and just the way he's got that loose grip and he's got a really fluid style. So anyway, I run into him at the Arctic Cat reveal in the booth, and he's like, dude, that air freshener is dope. I mean, just talking like Maverick Walker. But he's like, that thing, that's awesome. I'm so stoked about that. Just instantly picked himself out on that thing. And we didn't even put his name on it. But it was cool. Anyway, if you go to snowwest.com, get some merch, get a hat, get a shirt. We'll throw in a free air freshener and stickers as well. Because like I said, we got lots of stickers. But anyway, thanks for watching. You can catch this podcast on the SnoWest Magazine YouTube, SnoWest Magazine YouTube channel, and we'll have these out as well on all the audio channels for podcasts. And we've got a couple more episodes in the can already that will come out in a couple days. We had Blair Morgan, Dan Adams, and Chris Brandt sit down together and just talk about the glory days of Slednex, and it is the coolest conversation. And then we had Let's see, we had Jay Menaberry, Keith Curtis, Andy Thomas, and Blaine Matthews. 4 Rimshaw racers sat down and we talked about the Jacksonville Hill Climb. We talked about the course change, going from Exhibition to Wolverine, the gondola height, what Rimshaw is doing, and if we're going to go back to the original course, if we're going to go back to Exhibition Run. So that one's coming up too. All right, enjoy the show. Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Ryan Harris with SnoWest Podcast. I was going to say SnoWest Magazine, but because we've been doing SnoWest Magazine for 49 years now. Yeah. And who would have thought 49 years ago we'd be doing a podcast? But
probably didn't even know what that meant. We're doing it.
I guess we're doing podcasts now. We're here at Heydays 2022 with Heidi McNary, Senior Vice President and General Manager. Am I getting it?
That's right. It's a long title. It is. Thank you.
So that title is of Textron Power Sports?
Power Sports, that's right.
And so that encompasses Arctic Cat.
That's right. Snow and off-road and Tracker Off-Road, which is our other off-road brand.
Okay. And Troy Halvorson,
yes.
You lead the engineering team.
I am the Director of Product Strategy for snowmobiles at Arctic
You
Cat.
were an engineer.
I was, 21 years.
Come up through that.
We're both engineers, so we know enough to be dangerous, but we don't do that for a living anymore.
So you're an engineer. You have a background in that? So
I do.
That was my first question is, how long have you been with Arctic Cat? Because you came up through Textron, correct?
Yeah. Well, I've been with Textron about 6 years. I was actually with a company that did helicopter maintenance, and we were acquired into the Textron family. And so I joined Textron Power Sports about 3 years ago, and I moved up to Thief River Falls last July with my family. So I've been with Arctic Cat about 14, 15 months now.
So Thief River, like you're just all in.
I'm all in. I've been ice fishing. Troy hasn't even been ice fishing, and he grew up in Thief River Falls, and I have been ice fishing.
Well,
okay.
You're either a snowmobiler or you're ice fishing, right?
Yeah,
I've been snowmobiling, ice fishing. My son played hockey. He'd never skated before he played hockey. We've been cross-country skiing. I want to go curling this winter. That's my game, is to feel like I could be good at that.
You got us beat.
Yeah.
Look, curling's one of those things where I don't know if I will ever in my life say I've been curling.
But don't you think it's one of those sports that looks like we could be good at it?
It looks fun. I mean, I'll admit that.
Sweeping, and I'm in.
Yeah, you need like the special. You need one shoe that grips and one that
Yes.
Whatever. What I know.
I am going to do all the things. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I want to see some video of that. Okay. That'll be impressive. So you've been with Arctic Cat for
about 15 months.
Okay. Mm-hmm. What have you been through in 15 months? Like this has been a learning process. Like what have you learned about Arctic Cat followers, Arctic Cat owners?
Yeah. Well, I think, first when I had the opportunity to come and lead this really iconic brand, it's a big responsibility, and I took that really seriously. I'm a very curious person. Troy knows this about me. I ask questions constantly. And so the chance to learn about our customers, our brand, our channel, our communications, our products was really exciting to me. What I've learned is our customers are loyal, they're discerning, they have very high expectations of product and quality, but they've also been waiting for us to bring out something new and to kind of, I think, resonate back to what they associated the brand of Arctic Cat with. So that's been really exciting. It's also, there's not enough of us, right? We need more loyal Arctic Cat customers. We need more people in the sport. And so that's a big part of what we're committed to. It's what we think the catalyst is really going to drive, is to make the ride more accessible to people who aren't necessarily going to ride a turbo, who don't need the full power, who might be intimidated. Because it's a big, powerful machine, and these Catalyst machines are really going to help. So I think we're really trying to connect with our core riders and make sure they know this is the legacy of Arctic Cat, but just widen the circle. That's the whole point of our Share the Ride campaign.
So just Heydays, we're here literally 2 hours after you released this. So you released 3 models. You got an M Series, a crossover, Riot, and a trail sled, and they're all in the new Catalyst platform, and they're all 600s. Yep. And Troy, being in with your background, test riding as an engineer, you're a mountain rider. Like you and I have been out on the snow quite a bit together.
Yep.
Tell me about your experience riding the latest. Well, can you start from the beginning? Like, where did this concept?
Yeah, I'll kind of go back in history a little bit, because we had the M Series in the mid 2000s, late 2000s, that was just worked extremely well. It was kind of what everybody strived to get to. And then when we came out with the Pro Climb in 2012, we did a lot of commonality, and we probably aired too much to the trail side. And I was the performance trail team leader at that time, so I probably got my way a little more than I should have. So ironically, they put me in to lead the mountain team year after into that new platform. So my focus was to learn about the mountain rider. So I worked with Shay Smith and Todd Tupper and the guys out in Island Park, and they had no mercy on me. They brought me into the worst holes possible to purposely get me in trouble wherever they could.
Well, and it's cheating because Shay's
Yeah.
this tall, and he gets on those. And I remember when Arctic Cat had a telescope steering at the highest position, and Shay is just still just standing there, barely reaching down for the handlebars.
He said, "Well, aren't you getting mad? We're getting you in so much trouble." I'm like, as long as you're there to help me get out, I'm fine. But what I realized is that, the trail performance customer and the mountain customers, they're different in what they're looking for, but they're the same in how passionate they are and what they need the sled to do. So it was very good experience for me to learn, those nuances that were important to a mountain rider, and getting into the trees and how to get up through the trees and stuff. So we did a number of improvements to that model from 2013 all the way until we went to the alpha suspension. So it was continually making improvements. So when we went to this new Catalyst platform, we took what we learned in the previous platform, how long it took to get to the level it needed to be, and we got there right up front. So we know that there's certain components that are going to be common between all the different segments, but there's components that absolutely need to be different. From steering post angle to front end geometry to drive shaft location to tunnel running board width, seats. I mean, all that was focused on how to make the best mountain sled, and then also how to make the best trail sled as well.
Because you did touch on that. With the Proclaim chassis, it did feel like we went back to a long track trail sled.
Yep.
There for a little while, and it was like, what's going on? You guys had the best, lightest mountain sled out there possible.
Yep.
And I do want to point out, you are a mountain rider. You were the trail guy, but you are a mountain rider.
I appreciate that.
You've learned, and there's nowhere we can go where you can't follow. And
Thank
keep
you.
up with this. I know Shay's still around to pull us all out.
Yep.
But you're a legit mountain guy now.
Thank you.
Like you've earned that.
You need the badge. You get the mountain badge.
Yeah.
Right?
So I love riding with SnoWest because
it's good to see that come into this platform, because I look at that platform and the first thing pops into my head is the M7. Okay, you guys dominated mountain for a period of time there with the M series, and this goes back to those roots.
Yep.
In my opinion. I mean, I have ridden the thing. I've seen it. I saw it this spring out on the snow, on spring slush or whatever. But it just looks very impressive.
Thank you.
Heidi, I wanted to go back to you, though.
Yeah.
I had a question. So you touched on something. You come into Arctic Cat 15, 16 months ago, and the fan base is already expecting something new. Mm-hmm. And then you come in new to everything. How is everything going? Are we on a good track with Arctic Cat? Are we in a good development process where everything's been straightened out, the roller coaster ride is over, and we're on track?
Yeah. So I would say I think we are. Are we still going to have surprises and challenges? Of course we are, right? But if you think about, this was all in motion long before I joined, right? But really it was just about being focused, being thoughtful about the timing. We have a phenomenal product roadmap, which we kind of talked everybody out today. We're launching 3 new sleds this year. We're going to launch 3 more the year after. We know where we're going, and we have the team really focused on making that happen, and then learning each year, each model year is another opportunity to iterate a little bit and continue to improve. And so I feel really good about how the team is doing on the product strategy. We've made some strides on production. We've actually started to deliver for a number of our model year 23 sleds. We just delivered some youth sleds last week. We're building turbos this week. So we're way ahead of where we were last year, but man, the production, it's still a dogfight. It's still a real challenge for us to get the suppliers to deliver on plan.
COVID and supply chain just made it easier, right?
It's just rough. But we're doing better because we're already delivering a lot more than we did last year. We're delivering and getting stuff into the channel, and we want our riders to have a full season. We had this great snow season last year, and people didn't have product to ride. So we're pretty motivated to make sure that that's better this year.
Okay. Troy, can you talk a little bit about that particular M6000, or what is that called?
It's going to be the M600. We're kind of going away from the thousands designator just because it was kind of confusing to people. So we're going back to the 600.
And it is a new 600. It's not It's not
Yeah.
the existing either.
There's a lot of components that carried over from the last 600. This one's got a new crankshaft. We've done some things with the timing and how we pick it up, and just the run quality is going to be a lot better than even what it was before, and it was actually very good. So it's just going to be that much better yet. The fuel system is new. Basically the 600 and the 800 last year had two different fuel systems. So this new 600 will have the new fuel system. So there's a lot of things we can do with the calibration to really get a good and crisp running engines.
So as a mountain rider, and you've ridden that thing in the mountains.
Yep.
And I know you're wearing an Arctic Cat hat and green shirt. But just as a mountain rider, how does that thing feel?
Well, it's just like an extension of your body. You know, what I learned from riding mountain sleds, it's really about trying to keep yourself out of trouble into nasty spots that you can't get out of. You know, you look for a spot and you think you're going to go from here to there, and what's the best way to get there? And sometimes you get put in a spot that you gotta, oh, how am I going to get out of this? So the sled has got to react to the things, the inputs that you give it. And with this centralized design and the mass centralization, the lower center of gravity, you can move that sled and get it to go where you need it to go instead of trying to fight it. You know, you don't have to muscle it. You can, especially with the Alpha suspension. Like I was talking to one of the guys earlier today that's familiar with the Alpha sled, and he had a hurt shoulder, and he went out riding, and he's like, he was amazed that he could still ride with a hurt shoulder. Didn't feel he could do that on a regular mountain sled, but with our new platform, it's that much better yet. So it's going to be so nice when we get it out and everybody gets to experience it. Yeah. I think it's gonna make everybody a better mountain rider. Probably you won't like it as much because more people will come in the areas that you like to go.
You might not have them to yourself anymore.
We've got that problem there. Yeah, I mean, our backyards are the same backyard.
Yeah.
That's the problem. There's tracks that go to all the good spots, and there's people that just follow every track until they find the good spots.
Yeah. Yep.
And there's not a whole lot back there anymore that we
That's
can
true.
find without a track in it. Yeah. Especially last year where it snowed in January and it snowed again in April.
Yeah, we need a better year than that for sure.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, good deep snow. So obviously you released 3 sleds. One's a crossover, one's a trail sled, one's a mountain sled. I'm a mountain guy. I represent a mountain magazine, mountain podcast now, everything. We're all about mountain. Mm-hmm. Where is mountain going? Like, is this something to placate the mountain riders, or is there a roadmap?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I'll answer that. Absolutely. The mountain segment is huge for us. I mean, I've told you I love riding in the mountains. Andy Beavis, who's our mountain team leader, he will never let us forget about the things we need to do to make a better mountain sled and to really protect that segment. Because we saw, in the last 10 years, it's kind of been a migration from a lot of people in the Midwest. When there wasn't good Midwest snow, they were going out to the mountains, and it really bolstered up that segment. And we see that segment staying that way. It isn't like all of a sudden everybody's gone away from mountain sleds and switched to trail again. They're still there. They still know what it needs. It needs to be a good mountain sled, and they demand it, and we want to give it to them. So we will continue to push the envelope on the mountain market.
Okay.
And something to think about is, we could have just released a mountain or a trail or a crossover, right? But the idea and part of what took time is to really be thoughtful about how to release a family, right? Where it's common where it can be and it's special where it is, right? So we've got now the baseline, right, of a chassis that's custom designed to those segments. And the idea is that you keep iterating, you keep driving, you get big bore, you go turbo, right? You just keep moving in the mountain segment because it's core to our business.
Well, honestly, seeing 3 sleds released at the same time is relieving, because if you would have only released like the Riot or the ZR, we'd be like, hey, what about
how many more years do we have to wait? Exactly.
What are we doing over here?
Exactly.
But it is nice to see all 3. So Heidi, I want to ask you about like your vision for Arctic Cat, and that's why I asked you right off the bat, like, what have you learned about your buyers and the Arctic Cat fans? Because I'm telling you, I grew up an Arctic Cat like fanboy. Like I had Wildcats and Thundercats plastered all over my room. I was a Kirk Hibbert fan. Used to flag the SnoWest Snowcross up in West Yellowstone. Nice. Blair Morgan, just all of these, everything Arctic Cat. And I had friends that were Polaris guys, and we would razz each other about too many vents in the hood. I don't know, all that stuff. But my point being, like Arctic Cat just is more than a brand. Like, it's an icon. Like there's a joke that the Arctic Cat guys are wearing green underwear. You probably have it on right now.
I don't want to know, but he probably is, but I don't want to know.
What is the plan? What's the 5-year vision
Yeah.
for where you're taking Arctic Cat? Where's Heidi taking Arctic Cat?
Well, I think that, a couple things to think about. What's amazing to me is so often anybody that you meet will often, the first thing they'll say is, I rode a kitty cat. It's the first experience. I loved it. I loved going out. I can't believe my parents let me ride it. And so there's so much affinity, right? There's so much, I think people are really rooting for it to be better. We had a vintage sled show at our ice arena this summer for their 60th anniversary, and people brought in all their sleds, they brought in their gear, they brought in the patches, and watching people who haven't bought a product for 20 years, but that's the spark in their eye. Like, I remember when I bought that, and I remember when that came out, and I wanted that one. It was pretty incredible, right? Because there was thousands of people who just had that passion for it. So part of what we're really trying to do is help kind of recapture some of that legacy, right? Recapture some of that affinity, the family feel of the brand, right? If you see people wearing vintage clothing around, it's almost always Arctic Cat. They're not wearing Polaris vintage, they're not wearing Ski-Doo vintage, it's Arctic Cat. So really trying to kind of keep that legacy. And if you think about it, Troy mentioned the 5 guys he introduced that helped design this have 100 years of experience with Arctic Cat, right? That is our legacy. And we have someone like Ben Langus who's new, who's going to take the baton, right? So he's as much a part of the brand now as everybody who's been here 28 years, but we need somebody to keep that going forward. So that's a big part of how we do that, is making sure that we're mentoring, we have apprentices, we're bringing that forward. But we also do need to look to the future. We do need to be a little different. I don't think the answers about how we launch things are in the past. This is a great example. Historically, we might have launched 1 instead of 3. And so really trying to honor that legacy, kind of touch back to the root of how you feel about Arctic Cat, but also kind of do things a little different going forward.
You're breaking the mold on when stuff is released, because there's such a seasonality to winter that nobody really thought outside of the box of, okay, we release March 1st. We have a 30-day snow or spring program, and then new models come out and all that. But I mean, you're releasing next year's snowmobile in September before you released. You've done this before in the last couple of years. Like, it's kind of refreshing, but I think a lot of people are like, well, this is weird, but it's coming around.
Yeah, I think it's just we're trying to give people more time to understand. We want people to ride, right? We want to give them the opportunity. We want them to ask questions. We want them to know what we're doing. It's been really hard for this team to work for 10 years on this product and not be able to talk about all the innovation because we were stacking it all up to release it at one time. So that's really the idea.
So would there be units of this out there on the snow this coming winter that people can demo before they buy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. So we have a demo tour planned. We have a demo fleet planned. Really just, obviously, we're trying to figure out where the snow is going to be when, right? But that's a big part of, I think if you hear the racers talk about it, it's one thing to hear about how it's designed, but the feel, you just don't get it unless you're riding it. And so that is a huge opportunity for us, especially in the 600 segment where we talked about a lot more people should be riding, but they think they need more power. And if you get them on this and it handles so well and they have the control and the confidence, we feel like it could really open up that segment. And it's just the lead in then for then trade it in, right? For a full size next year, right? That works for us too.
Makes sense. Yeah, and I love how you guys have filled in the gaps there with the smaller sleds, the 400, you got the 120, the 200. We've been missing that.
We say every rider, every terrain, every level of experience. We've got something for everybody.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll let you go, but I did want to tell you there was a guy that stopped by our booth to buy a t-shirt, and he had a ZR hat from 1994. And I mean, the plastic is showing through on the brim. The only cloth on the brim is where the threads are. And I tried to sell him a new hat too. He's like, nope, this thing's
That's what I mean. That guy is going to hold onto that hat forever, right? Yeah. And that's what we're trying to tap into, is that feeling of wanting to hold on to it forever.
Okay. Okay, well, thanks for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Pleasure talking. Look forward to riding with you, Spencer.
All right, looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to that thing.
Yes, you'll get the opportunity, I guarantee it.
All right, I'm gonna text you every day.
Okay. Wait till the snow flies though.
Thanks for listening, and thank you to our show sponsors. Can't get enough sledding content? Subscribe to SnoWest magazine at snowwest.com and get 7 issues from September through March. Try our awesome new vertical digital format or get magazines mailed to your door. And subscribe to our YouTube channel for the latest sled reviews, interviews, and more.